Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Inspire with Fire. I'm Krista Abbott, your host, and I need to adjust my camera just slightly. There we go. And welcome today. I'm excited that you are here. As you guys come into the room, go ahead, drop a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're watching. And for those of you who are catching the replay, then as always, hashtag replay so that I know you stopped by and I can give you a little bit of love later because it's all about the love. Here at Inspire with Fire, it's all about the love. So I want to welcome you guys today to the broadcast. As you're coming in, say hello, drop a note in the comments. This is episode number 52. 52, can you believe it? And today we're going to be talking about God's will and God's kingdom. Good morning, Miss Linda. Great to see you this morning. Great to see you on this morning. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. You're so awesome and faithful to be here with me every day and hang out. I just love seeing your face. But we are going to talk about God's kingdom and God's will today. And this was actually prompted by a question that Andy asked yesterday. Our discussion won't necessarily address her question, but her question prompted this thought train and this thought process in my mind. And so this morning, when I woke up, like I always, do, I always make some positive statement or declaration to connect myself with heaven, to connect myself with God, to start the day off right. Good morning, Lisa. Great to see you hopping on. We missed you yesterday, girl. I hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing good. But as I always make a practice every day to say, something positive out loud, verbally, to God when I wake up, just to make that connection with heaven. And a lot of days, like you guys know, I joke around and I'm like, this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad. That I use that one a lot. Sometimes I just say good morning, God, and thank you for a good night's rest or something like that. Or if I've had a dream, I thank him for the dream. Well, this morning when I woke up, and what I find is a lot of times it's something I don't give thought to it. It just comes out of my spirit. So a lot of times the first thing that comes out of my mouth and comes out of my spirit in the mornings is sometimes can be a message from the Lord, and sometimes it can be like him trying to get my attention with the words that I'm actually speaking first thing in the morning. So this morning my words were unplanned, unpremeditated, just out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. So out of the abundance of my heart this morning flowed the words, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven." Very popular passage. We all know from the Lord's Prayer even, and just being one of the ways that Jesus taught us to pray. But when I said it this morning, I was like, wow, I thought about it on a deeper level, like, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And a lot of times I think we think about God's will in such a complicated way. And we think about, how trying to figure it out all the time and trying to discern or decide if we're actually flowing in or following God's will and God's plan for our life. And I did mention yesterday in answering the question that was presented, I did mention that that God's will is, as long as our heart is submitted to and desires that we can have a confident assurance that God knows that, and it's, he's going to be able to bring that about for us. So it's not something we have to be anxious about or worry a whole lot about, as long as we maintain that heart posture and that heart position that we desire God's will and we desire his plan. And so that's just something I wanted to touch on a little bit today. And so let's hop on over to our inspiration. And good morning, those of you just coming in. Welcome this morning. So our morning inspiration then comes from Matthew 6:10, and this version is Passion Translation. Surprise, surprise. And it says it this way. It says, "Manifest your kingdom realm and cause your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth, just as it is fulfilled in heaven." Manifest your kingdom realm and cause your every purpose. And I like the way it says that, your every purpose. So God's will then is his every purpose. Your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth, just as it is fulfilled in heaven. So when we're praying this, it's like saying to God, and acknowledging, first of all, acknowledging his kingdom as being the kingdom of authority and the kingdom of rulership in our own lives. And then when we take it that next step and say that, we say, your kingdom come, or manifest your kingdom realm, let your kingdom be manifest here on earth, is essentially what that is saying. And cause your every purpose to be fulfilled. Or in the other translation, the way it says it is, may your will be done on earth. Okay, so cause your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth, just as it is fulfilled in heaven. So let's think, how is God's purpose fulfilled in heaven? Because that's the same way it should be fulfilled on earth, according to this, right? And how's the other translation say it? May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So as something is established in heaven, so let it be established on earth. Well, God is a king, and his kingdom is everywhere, really, but he's the king of that kingdom. Okay, so him being in his kingdom realm, his kingdom realm and way of doing business, his way of operating, his way of doing everything, is what we want to see. And what we're saying through saying this prayer is that we're saying we want to see that manifest, that same thing manifest here on earth. Well, if we acknowledge that we're living in a kingdom and that we have a king, and God is that king, and we have that king, we acknowledge that, and we can say that we want, or we desire, God's plans or God's purpose that he has to manifest here on earth as it is in heaven. So if we can agree and acknowledge that, then we can say that if it's God's kingdom and he has a plan on earth as it is in heaven, then how is heaven different than earth? So we need to think about and consider how God's ways differ from our ways, right? So as I started thinking about this morning, I'm like, what are some ways that God's ways differ from our ways? What are some ways that the mindset or the kingdom of heaven differs from the mindset or the current earth as we know it? And so a few things came to mind, just a few. And one being, okay, so the world's way, so let's think about how the world system thinks. And by the world, I just in general mean humanity. Okay, it's not have any spiritual connotation as to, worldliness or sinfulness or anything like that. Just talking about the world in general as humanity. So when the world says, when somebody does you wrong, then the world or the humanity side, the human side, would say, well, you have a right to seek revenge, or you have a right to, seek some sort of restitution, or, or do another wrong, like wrong for wrong, tit for tat, But God says, love your enemies. God says, do good to those who harm you. So if we want to bring heaven to earth and see God's will manifest from heaven to earth, then we have to start behaving or altering our responses or the way we think about situations, we have to align our mindset and our hearts with heaven and with the way that God thinks, because he thinks differently than we do. He thinks differently than we're taught to think, than we're programmed here on this planet to think. So some other ways would be say, the world says repay evil for evil, but God says turn the other cheek. Um, do good to those who harm you. The world says seek revenge when you've been wrong, but God says seek reconciliation when you've been wrong. I think it's Galatians 5:8. I think I got the address right on that, but it says that you've been called to the ministry of reconciliation. And so there's actually a ministry of reconciliation, which ministry means the work of God. So there is a work of God that is designated and called reconciliation. So reconciliation is the complete opposite of separation. It's the complete opposite of revenge. It's the complete opposite of, division and strife. So we've been called to the ministry of reconciliation. We've been called to bring things together. Here's another one. Being a peacemaker. That goes along with reconciliation as well. I mean, even Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount said, blessed are the peacemakers. So peacemakers, being those people that embody and live out the characteristics and the morals and the principles of a heavenly culture and a heavenly nature. That's what we're called to. When we're saying thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, we're saying, God, take my life and let it manifest here on this earth what you desire it to manifest. Take my life and let it manifest what you have in heaven, what your culture in heaven is. And so really looking at that heaven culture and saying, what is that and how can we manifest that here on earth? So the world says be afraid and have anxiety when things are uncertain and things are going astray. But God says be anxious for nothing and fear not. The world says get all the money you can get, live for today, live for wealth. But God says trust me, I will provide for all of your needs. So is your trust and your faith in money and in the world system, or is your trust and faith in God and his provision? So those are just a few of the things that I thought about this morning when I really started thinking about what does that mean to say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What does that mean to say the way it says it in the Passion Translation here? Manifest your kingdom realm and cause your every purpose to be fulfilled on earth just as it is fulfilled in heaven. So we've talked about many times before how we're created for a purpose. We're sent to this earth with a purpose, and part of that purpose is to bring the heavenly culture and the heavenly nature here to this planet, to earth, and to fulfill a purpose that God has for us. We all have a role to play in the grand plan. And so finding and identifying that role and just simply being submitted to God each and every day, just carrying that heart posture that says, God, what do you want me to do today that brings honor to you, that brings a little bit of heaven culture to earth, that helps establish the kingdom of God in a greater way here on earth? And just having that surrendered heart and that willingness to let him work and flow through you. Lisa is saying something here. Thank you for the fire, Lisa. I appreciate that. Thank you, girl. So what are you saying here? You said, I heard someone say one time, God is looking for earth to look like heaven. And that's the ideal scenario. He says here, manifest your kingdom realm and cause your every purpose to be fulfilled. I know I keep repeating it, but because I want us to really hear it, when we manifest the kingdom realm, that's how we get heaven to earth. And starting to look and have that kingdom culture and the kingdom way of thinking. and the kingdom way of doing things. And one of the things that I look at now as one of our greatest responsibilities is because of the current situation that the world is in, because of the global chaos and the globe and the pandemic, and the division in America specifically as it relates to political agendas and politics and upcoming elections. What is our role in that as kingdom people? What is our, not as Republicans, Democrats, left, right, red, blue, whatever you want to call yourself. It's not about that. We're about the kingdom. If we're believers in God, then we are about the kingdom of God. So what is the desire of the king of our kingdom in all of this? What is his desire, and how can our prayers be focused not to meet our agendas, not to partner with the agendas of any political parties, but to partner with the will and the plan of God, and to pray into our global state, to pray into our global situations of chaos and global situations of the pandemic, and praying into the elections. This is probably one of the most important elections coming up in American history. Let's just be honest. It's going to be one of the most important elections we've ever had in our country. And I'm not here, I do not push any specific political statement here, because I don't want to cause any division. I'm here to minister and to speak to everyone. But this is what I can say. As a kingdom person and as a kingdom-minded individual, we should not be voting based on a political platform, whether someone's of a certain party or not. But we should be seeking God in prayer and saying, God, what is your will for this election? What is your will for this country? What is your will for the direction that we're going to take? Because it's not about what we want. It's not about even what we think is best, but it's about what is God's plan, and who is the man that God has appointed to carry out that plan in this season of time. Who is the person that God's hand is on to do the work that needs to be done in the nation and in the world? What is God's agenda? What is God's plan? And if you're praying kingdom, and if you're asking God to show you what that is, then he will. And I don't think any of us can or should assume that we know what that is already. We need to ask. We need to ask God and say, God, what is your plan in this? What is your plan in the grand scheme of things? What and who will help bring heaven to earth in a greater way? Who is the person that God has appointed to help bring the things into alignment with what his plan is? Because God has a plan for the world. God has a plan for us globally, and God has a plan for America. And so our prayers should be directed to God's plan for the world, God's plan for America. Our prayers should be directed to see his will come about, and not driven by our own agendas or by the agendas of a particular party or whatnot. So again, it's about the kingdom. It's all about the kingdom. And so I didn't intend to get off on that conversation today. God just kind of took us there. But here we are. So we'll just roll with it. Oh boy. But anyway, so pray into it. And in any situation of life, no matter what decision, no matter what, because our way is not always God's way. And what we think is best in the grand scheme of things is not always best. So the best thing we can do is to pray and ask God to guide us in accordance with his plan and his purpose, so that we can not be a hindrance to his will from being able to happen on the earth, but that we can partner with it and help bring it about. So how can we partner with God today? How can you partner with God today to help bring a little bit more of His plan, a little bit more of His purpose, a little bit more of His agenda into this earth? So that's what I wanted to share today. And so let's go ahead and anchor it. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate the validation. It's a touchy topic. But you know, at the end of the day, I know I'm not giving any endorsement to any person. I already know in my heart what God has shown me, but it's not for me to tell other people what to do. It's for me to encourage them to go to the Lord and to say, God, what is your will? What is your kingdom? And what is your plan for this situation? And let Him speak to you. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. All right. So let's go ahead and anchor this with our decree. So here we go. I decree I walk in unity with God and His kingdom. I am a conduit for God's will to flow. I put my plan, my desire, and my agenda aside, and I choose to elevate God's kingdom so we can bring heaven to earth. One more time. I decree I walk in unity with God and His kingdom. I am a conduit for God's will to flow. I put my plan, my desire, and my agenda aside, and I choose to elevate God's kingdom so we can bring heaven to earth. All right, well, there we have it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the broadcast today. As always, hop on over to KristaAbbott.com. If you haven't picked up that ebook yet, you can get it for free at KristaAbbott.com. Just plug in your email address, and it is right there. We'll send it right over to you. If you would like to make a donation to support this broadcast and the ongoing efforts and outreaches of this ministry, then you can give at KristaAbbott.com/give, and those gifts are tax deductible. They go to Destiny Fulfilled International Ministries, and so they are tax deductible. Also over at kingdom818.com, we have some cool shirts and stuff, some swag. Somebody say swaggy swag. So we got some swaggy swag over at kingdom818.com, so be sure and check that out. And as always, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may He turn His face toward you and give you peace. Have a wonderful day.